Hello and welcome to the Mark 8 Ford Fiesta. It's a snazzy looking thing, isn't it? I don't think anyone can contest the way that these look, but then that's no surprise. Ford have always been really good at knowing their target audience and nailing the styling. And the thing is, it looks just as good on the inside as it does the outside. Tell you what, it is a car that 17-year-old me would have killed for. You can get a load of this interior, and it's not just the look of it, it's got a much more premium feel than what we've come to expect from small cars. Soft touch dashboard, nice big clear dials, there's a proper LCD screen in there. There is, however, the occasional reminder that it's still a Ford. Now, if you are looking to buy a Fiesta or indeed any other car, may I strongly suggest you check out vehiclescore.co.uk. I'll add a link in the description below, but essentially what this website allows you to do is input the registration of any car and it will tell you the good and bad bits about it, as well as giving it a score, so you can see at a glance whether or not that car is going to be worth going for. Also, make sure you HPI check it as well. I'll add a link to the Vehicle Score HPI checker in the description below, along with 15% off. Don't say I'm not good to you. Let me tell you one thing I'm not the biggest fan of in this interior: the centre screen. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not the screen itself. Resolution wise, it's ultra sharp, looks super modern. It's the angle of it, it's perfectly vertical, so you end up with your wrist in this sort of contorted fashion trying to push buttons on it, because bear in mind, it is a touch screen that you're interacting with all the time. I remember some old Porsche Cayennes having a similar setup and they got stick for it as well. A little bit odd. What do you guys think? Am I being a drama queen here, or is that something that would irk you as well? Comments below. But is it still fun to drive? Well, unless I'm going to go contradicting every motoring journalist ever and tell a lie, it sure is. But then that's really no surprise, is it? Ford have always been masters at getting the handling in their small cars right as well, just as they have been the styling. I was a serial Puma and Fiesta buyer back in the day. For those of you who don't know, the old Puma, that was based on the Fiesta chassis as well, and the handling was sweet as. But then that is the trend with these small Fords. They always have handled out of their league, and this is no exception. So one criticism that I've read time and time again on these cars is that the steering is a little bit numb, a little bit electrified, which, okay, I can see where you're coming from. It's not an old school hydraulic rack, but come on, this car's going to be used for driving to the shops, for driving to the office, and I'm sorry, this may well be an unpopular opinion in the eyes of other enthusiasts, but an overly communicative rack in those scenarios, it's just tiring. It just is. To me, this is about right. It's still got the pinpoint accuracy that the Fiestas and Pumas of old had, but with the advantage of a really, really quick, dynamic rack now. It's right for the car. This particular Fiesta's got the 1 litre EcoBoost fitted to it, and it's very zingy. It's got a wonderful little 3-cylinder warble to it, and despite only being the 100 brake horsepower variant of it, it's no slouch. That turbocharged torque means your nan will be most impressed with your new car's performance as well. Is paired to a 6-speed manual, which I would have a slightly shorter throw on if I had the choice, to be honest. But then if your nan borrows your car, she's got more chance of getting it into gear correctly with this longer throw, so maybe it's alright for the style of car. If you go for the 1.1 litre Fiesta, that's going to be tied to a 5-speed manual, and if you go for one of the mild hybrid cars, then that can be paired to the automatic variant as well. Started out life as a traditional torque converter gearbox, and in later years moved to the VW sourced dual clutch gearbox. We're pausing for a moment because what type of review video would this be without taking a look at the specifications on the car? Henry Ford's signature's on the brochure. What do you think he'd make of the Fiesta? Do you think Henry Ford would drive a Fiesta? Anyway, it's specifications that we're here to look at. Let's get serious. Scrolling down. Oh, I do not look this suave during this review. I just don't. Anyway, specifications. Oh, what on earth is going on here? This looks wildly out of control. It's as if the car's gained full autonomy and is just went wild. Okay, so here we are. We're going to choose the Fiesta that's right for you. Core, that ain't right for no one. Unless you're on a really strict budget. And if you are looking to buy one, just don't. But make sure it's got the 1 litre EcoBoost. It doesn't have the 1.1. That was the only model that got it, and it is just a bit too slow. The Play series and the Active, well, I mean, it's just marketing, isn't it? It's marketing gone wild. Who wants an SUV-inspired Fiesta? I mean, come on. Luxury models, Titanium and Vignale. Yes, these are good. Good bet if luxury is what you're after. It's in the brochure here, which I'm going to add a link to in the description below, because I'm aware this is the crummiest overview of a specification that you've ever seen. And then Sport, the good ones. ST line, that's obviously what we got in the video here, and ST if you want your Fiesta with a little bit extra sauce. So there you go, it's all in the description for you. Have a look after the video, because yes, this has not been a great overview. I tried. Seating position, that's kind of what you would want. You sit up fairly high, so visibility is great out of all this glass. It's a really roomy cabin when you take a minute to consider it. There's a very airy feel in here. But here's one weird little anomaly, and that is, I can't remember another car in recent times that hasn't allowed me to adjust the height of my seatbelt. It's fixed on that pillar there. Do you guys recall any car in the last, say, 10 years that hasn't allowed you to bring your seatbelt up or down? I think that's a little bit weird. So this car, being one of the ST line editions, has actually got slightly lowered, slightly stiffened suspension, and I'm delighted to say this, they haven't ruined it. It's still plenty compliant, plenty soft enough for our rutted British B roads. So one thing that I said at the beginning of this video is Fiestas and Pumas of old and new, it seems as well, have got a tendency of handling out of their league, out of their price bracket. And as I said, this is no exception. And one of the reasons for that is these Fiestas actually break the inside wheels as you get moving around a B road. So if I pitch into a corner fairly quickly, it breaks the inside wheels to try and help the car rotate round that bend and feel more neutral. Now this will sound familiar to any of you enthusiasts watching. This is something that's fairly common in high-end sports cars and supercars, but the little Fiesta gets it as well. Now on note of the brakes, they're great, really sharp, nice progressive pedal feel. But one thing to be aware of is if you buy a Fiesta with less than 100 horsepower, so I think that only takes into account the 1.1 litre, then you're going to get drum brakes on the rear, and that's not going to feel quite as sharp as this does. Now I know, I criticised the angle of this screen, but one thing that Ford did try really hard with on this car is to make the infotainment system less archaic, easier to use than the Fiestas of old, and they have certainly succeeded, because what you end up with is this really super modern, super high resolution infotainment system with Apple CarPlay, with the option to specify a Bang & Olufsen stereo. How's that for premium? Be aware, however, if you do choose that option, it's going to take up the whole spare wheel well with the subwoofer, so no spare wheel for you. But get a load of that boot, you could fit many things in there. But should you buy one? Well, they're practical, still fun to drive, and more premium than ever. But if you're thinking about buying a used one, not so fast. Click on the pop-out banner in the top right-hand corner now, and I'll take you through my very professional buyer's guide, where I talk about all the common problems and tell you what ones to avoid. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.